Good morning, everybody. It is top of the hour, time to get going. So I appreciate each and every one of you jumping on. We've got a lot of ground to cover and some great content for you today. We actually have, we're going to reverse order this morning. Normally we would do leaderboards and then lead into some other topics for the day, but we are going to, we've got a special guest on, and in deference to his time, we're going to bring on a special guest this morning. And one of the reasons why he's on this morning is as we watch the numbers, in our business, you hear the phrase, submit is for show, issue paid, get you the dough, or some variant of that. And so one of the things that that I've been watching in our numbers is issue paid. We've got some people that are making some great money. We've got some people that are writing some business, maybe not making quite as much money as they could be. And part of that has to do with your carrier choice. Now, we want to do everything we can that's right by the carrier, or by the client rather, but we also have to take care of ourselves and our business. So that's a balance. There are great companies out there that will treat the client right, give them great value and great products, but also help us in getting our business issued quickly and getting us paid quickly. And one of those carriers is actually Americo. And with us this morning, we have a very special guest. I want to welcome to the call Mr. Andrew Kostus, who is the field rep for Americo and actually our rep representing Symmetry Financial Group. So Andrew, welcome to the call, and appreciate you taking a little bit of time to talk to us this morning.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay?
Got you loud and clear.
Awesome. Well, hey, what an honor to be on the call here today. I certainly appreciate you reaching out, and was taking some notes before the call on kind of what to talk about. And first off, I want to say congratulations on some amazing months. We were going back and forth via email yesterday and hearing all the writers and all the hard work that goes into that. And we certainly understand all the hard work that goes in from the recruitment side of it, from the purchasing of leads, from the making the dials, meeting with clients, whether it's Zoom, face-to-face. So hopefully if you take away anything from this call today, the one thing I'd like you to take away is what we want to do at Americo is we want to do steps 9 and 10 better than anyone else. So we kind of view the sales process as a 1 to 10, where 1 being, you're just starting out and you just bought your first set of A leads, or maybe you bought your first set of B leads, or so on down the line. And you're starting to make the dials, and you're starting to get a hold of the clients, and you're setting the appointments, you're locking it down, all of that good stuff, doing the needs analysis, that we kind of view that as steps 1 to 8. And for us, steps 9 and 10 is what we want to do better than anyone else. And what we mean by that is we want to be able to provide you great products, provide you a great process. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what we would like to do is be known as one of the easiest companies to do business with. And Chris, our point, one of the things that we found is if we can figure out a way to get clients approved quickly, or get you a decision quickly, and get the policy issued quickly, and get money in your bank account quickly, we figured out that that's kind of the recipe for success. I think everybody on this call, if we were all in a room together and said, hey, raise your hand if the goal in this is to protect as many families as you can, but also provide an income for your family, I think everybody would be in agreement that that's kind of the baseline or foundation of what we're working for, or what we're working with. So from an Americo standpoint, one of the things we've really prided ourselves on and really tried to do is we've tried to make sure that we can get a client, get you a decision quickly, and we'll walk through how that works, and ultimately get a policy issued as quickly as we can for you. We certainly, Symmetry does a fantastic job. They've picked, honestly, I think probably the 4 best carriers out there for the core carriers. So certainly in no way is this an indictment on any carrier that you use, because obviously there's a lot of good carriers, a lot of good products out there. What I wanted to do today, though, is kind of highlight some of the reasons why we think we've had continued growth. We know why we've had continued growth with Symmetry, but one of the couple things that we've kind of pointed out over the last couple meetings, a couple calls, Zoom calls, things like that we seem to really be resonating with people. First one is when we talk about Americo, one of the things we love to focus on is our process. And I'll kind of throw out the elephant in the room right off the bat. And I know this sounds kind of counterintuitive. You say, well, why would you throw this out up front? But I'll just put it out there. We've never been known as the cheapest company in the industry. If you're looking for the absolute cheapest company, it's not going to be Americo. What I can tell you is that when we talk about the value proposition of why use Americo, and then you start looking at our rates and you say, wow, okay, they're right in the ballpark with a lot of other companies. They may not be the absolute cheapest, but they're right there in the range. And then you start looking at the value proposition of why use us. What we have found is we've had, as a matter of fact, this last week, we had the most applications we've ever had submitted with Symmetry and Americo. We had the largest month in April that we've ever had. And a couple of those reasons is what I'm going to talk about here. So one of the things that we focus on is process. We offer an e-application with an instant decision. I know there's a lot of great companies out there that talk about e-applications. They talk about some kind of instant approval or instant decision. The reality is a lot of times that some of those products come offline. They may have an instant decision platform that does about 70% of the time, or maybe 80% of the time, or there's some kind of lag in there that says, hey, if they're perfectly healthy, we can give you a decision. But if they're in that gray area, we have to have an underwriter look at it. And I think everybody's experienced that pain where if it comes offline at all, you may be looking at a week, 2 weeks. We've even heard up to 15 days to get a policy, get an underwriter to look at it and get it approved. I'll give you a perspective yesterday. If you look at Americo as a whole, not just with Symmetry, but Americo as a whole, we had 1,100 applications come through our e-application system just yesterday. And out of those 1,100 policies got a decision yes or no. And the ones that got a decision of yes were issued yesterday. So to kind of put it in perspective for you. So our goal is to get policies issued as quickly as we can. So how we do that is through an e-application system. So a couple of the kind of the nuts and bolts of it for you is if you're looking at our term products, one of the things we always like to mention is we do require E&O on our mortgage products. So I know that maybe makes us a little bit different. I know a lot of you on this call probably have E&O, but we always like to make sure that we know that up front. If you're someone that's going to go write a product and you say, I'm going to go get E&O on Monday, we do give you a 21-day lag period. So if you write the policy today and you go get your E&O tomorrow, that's okay. But we need it within a 21-day window of the policy being written, if that makes sense. Obviously, AML is a big one. Everybody requires AML to get going. But outside of those kind of admin pieces, the focus for us is our e-application. The great thing with our e-application is, number one, it's foolproof. I always joke I have twin daughters that are 10 and they can fill out an e-application with Americo just fine. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple process. You can't go to the next screen without the prior one being done. So there's never a time where you get to the end of the process and you forgot a signature, or you forgot to check a box, or you forgot to do this. We try to be a company that limits, if not eliminates, all amendments. Again, it's kind of disingenuous to say, hey, we want your business to come through an e-app and then make you go out and do paper amendments on the back end of it. We try to limit those, if not eliminate those altogether. But the thing about our e-application we found has been really successful is we actually looked at specifically Symmetry last week. We looked at the overall mix of business, and a lot of the business for Symmetry, we found over 50% of it is written after 3 o'clock. So it's written from 3 o'clock to about 10 o'clock at night. The great thing with our e-application is our e-application works when you work. So we're not a company that says, hey, if you write a policy at 7 o'clock at night, it's going to have to wait till the morning to have somebody look at it, to scan it into system, to get it to new business. It actually shuts down at 11 o'clock at night and starts at 6 in the morning. So if you're writing a policy at 3 a.m., there may be some other carriers that love that business. We may stay away from the 3 a.m. Leads, but overall 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. is going to be that sweet spot for us. And again, the products we'll talk through here in just a moment all fall into that category. But one of the things we like to talk about is when a policy goes into system, one of the things that we do, we think better than anyone else out there, is we give you a decision faster. Because ultimately, when you think about if you're meeting with a client over Zoom or you're meeting with a client face-to-face, the one thing you want to make sure of is that you can get a decision to the client. Ellis had a great question, Eastern time. So actually the great question. So our e-application shuts down per time zone. So in other words, if you're on the East Coast, it's 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time. If I'm in Kansas City, so the Midwest, it's 6 a.m. to 11 Central time, and then so on down the line. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that you leave that sale, or you leave that call, that Zoom call, that appointment with the client with a sale. And so what we do a little differently is the number one thing in the simplified issue space, which all of us basically play in, which is just RX and MIB and the health questions. We run prescription check before we ask any health questions. And we do it because we think your time's valuable. And we also do it because that's the number one thing that underwriters look for. So if you have a policy that comes offline or you send it to another carrier, obviously they're looking at the health questions. Most health questions are probably knockouts or very close to knockouts. So really what they're looking for is prescription check. And they want to know is what's the client taking, and will we get them approved? We run that before we ask any health questions. So before you actually get to a single health question talking to the client, we run prescription check. As a matter of fact, we typically run it within the first, it's actually the fourth slide or fourth screen into our e-application. So it takes about 4 minutes to get there, and it takes about 10 seconds to run it. We come back and we give you a thumbs up or thumbs down right away. The reason that's really important is when you get a thumbs up, you ask the health questions, grab the banking and beneficiary information, and you're off and running. But let's say on the off chance that we can't approve every single client. The good news is you took about 4 minutes of the client's time and you got a decision that maybe wasn't the best decision you wanted. But if we give you a quick no, you're still right there with the client. Think about how many policies maybe you've written somewhere else that are still pending in like the new business black hole somewhere. And it's a week later, 2 weeks later, and they get back to you and say, hey, unfortunately, we just couldn't quite issue that coverage. Well, everybody here knows that that's a hard client to get back a hold of. Not only to get a hold of to unfortunately break the bad news, but also to be able to say, hey, can I meet with you again? Or can I come to your house again? Can we jump on another Zoom? And can I basically, in essence, retry to sell you on the value of why you need life insurance? What we do is we take a lot of that guesswork out for you, because we give you that instant decision up front, and we run prescription check up front prior to asking any health questions. The key to our prescription check is we look for in prescription check what ties directly to the health questions. So if a client passes prescription check, the likelihood of them answering a health question yes, is very, very low. Now, with that said, obviously we need to have the health questions asked. I know that I did a training a while back and somebody said, cool, so once you pass the first one, we just check note everything, right? No, you still have to ask them. But what we're looking for, and then as a matter of fact, we're confident enough when we run prescription check up front that we assign out a policy number at that point. If prescription check says yes, that you're good, we assign out a policy number. So imagine a sales process where if I'm talking to John Paul and I say, hey, within the first 3 or 4 minutes, we run prescription check, everything was good. Hey, if you don't mind, grab a pen out and jot down this policy number. Now we still have to finish up the application, but everything's trending really well. Well, most clients are like, cool, like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes into the process. It doesn't mean that it's all the way completed, but it means that we're trending the right direction. And most clients will give you a couple minutes of their time to start out the process. So again, our e-application, it's very, very, I'll put it in the chat box here. It's very, very simple to use. One of the things that we've done as well is I see some familiar faces on the Zoom, and I see some that maybe I haven't quite had a chance to meet yet. One of the things that we have is we have a demo site that mimics our production site. So if you're somebody brand new to Americo and you say, I got some appointments this weekend I was going to run, I'm going to try to save Sunday for Mother's Day and maybe run on Saturday. One of the things that we'll do is I'll put in our demo site. It's very, very simple to use, but if you're someone that says the first time I use an e-app, there's no way I'm going to do it in front of a client. I want to actually know how to navigate left and right, how the screens work. Our demo site's a great, great option for you. And again, I'll put that in the chat box at the end. So a couple of our products for you. The number one selling product that we have with Symmetry is our cashback option products. So you think about in the mortgage protection market, when you're thinking about cashback options, some of you may have heard it referred to as return of premium. It means the exact same thing. It's just a matter of how they're filed at the state. We filed it for cashback. Some people file return of premium. But here's what makes our process, our product a little bit different. Is number one, we have 2 products available. So we have CBO 100 and CBO 50. So as you can imagine, the 100 means 100% cashback option, and the 50 means 50% cashback option. So they're two separate products, and we'll talk in just a minute about how we landed on both of those. But really what differentiates us out there is the next two pieces we'll talk about. Number one is all the term periods are available. So you have 15, 20, 25, and 30-year term periods. If you think about the core carriers that Symmetry selected, we think that makes us really unique. We know there's some people out there that do 100% cashback option, but they may not have all the term periods. They may limit you to 1 or 2 term periods, where Americo is going to give you 15, 20, 25, and 30 years. In addition to that, outside of the state of California, the living benefits are included, critical, chronic, and terminal illness at no additional cost, which again makes us unique in the market, because there's some carriers out there to say, hey, we offer 100% cashback option. We may limit the term periods, but if you choose CBO, you can't have living benefits. We think that's a tough decision to make when you're talking with a client on whether or not they want cashback option or living benefits. And we think both are important. That's why we have them both into our products. So again, when you think about all the term periods, you're no longer having to kind of force somebody into one term period or another. We know there's some great carriers out there that do less than 100% cashback option and offer all the term periods, and that's great. Again, we want to make sure that we have two options available. The number one reason we have two options available is we want your client to have some selection, because the reality is when you talk with a client about a cashback option, there's usually 1, 2 things that come up. It's either how valuable is getting all your money back, or how valuable is getting some of your money back but having a higher death benefit. So what we do on our end, the CBO 100 is going to be 100% of your money going back to the client at the end of the term period, whether it's 15, 20, 25, or 30 years. And the death benefit, obviously, when you run the quote, it's going to quote out what the death benefit is. Or if you ran the CBO 50, what the CBO 50 is going to do is obviously give 50% of their money back. But generally speaking, that death benefit is going to be somewhere between $25,000 to $40,000 more than the CBO 100. So it's kind of a cool concept, because when you sit down with a client, you really are looking at talking with the client about a cashback option. You can kind of feel out, hey, is getting all your money back really important? If so, CBO 100 is an awesome fit. If getting some money back is great, but man, that death benefit's really what's driving this conversation, the CBO 50 is going to be a great fit, because they're going to get half their money back, but the death benefit's going to be significantly higher than the CBO 100. Again, all of these are done through our e-application process. The maximum amount we allow is up to $400,000. But just as a pro tip to everyone here, if it's $250,000 and $1 to $400,000, we require a saliva swab. So basically what I'm saying is keep it under $250. It's not that the saliva swab is difficult. It's just that it takes a couple more days to get done, because we mail it out, they test, they send it back in. So it just adds a few days to that process. If you keep it under $250,000, you're going to get that instant approval. So you're going to get that yes or no right there. The minimum amount's $25,000, which again, so if you think about, here in Kansas City, we see sales come through on the Kansas side and Missouri side, and our average face amount's probably somewhere in that maybe 160, 170 range. Understanding the West Coast may be a little higher, some parts on the East Coast a little higher, but generally speaking, you can land around that, somewhere between that $25,000 to $250,000, and be able to get that cashback option. So again, we found that's an awesome product. Both of those products sell very well. To reiterate, whether it's a morning, evening, night, or weekends, those products are available to you. Again, you're going to get that instant approval, instant approval on everyone, instant decision on them. So to pivot off of that very quickly, another product that we have that sells a lot with Symmetry is what we call our Term 125. Some of you have been with us long enough to know, you probably remember it used to be called HMS Plus 125. I have no idea why marketing switched the name, but nonetheless, it's Term 125 now. Does the exact same thing. But really, I was actually talking with Matt Smith the other day, and one of the things I wanted to reiterate was on our CBO products, they're standalone cashback option products. So in other words, if the client wants a cashback option product, it's CBO 100 or CBO 50. If they're not interested in cashback option, or say, hey, price is king on this and I really just need a simplified issue that's going to cover the needs of what I'm looking for, then what we found was the term 125 is a great fit. So the term 125 is going to be, again, all through the e-application, simplified issue insurance, makes it very, very simple. But you cannot add the cashback option on the term 125. So if the client wants a cashback option, it's either CBO 100 or CBO 50. If they don't want a cashback option, the term 125 is an awesome fit for you. If you're familiar with things like Term Life Express, the term 125 is going to be right there with them. In some ages we're a couple bucks cheaper, and some ages we're a couple bucks more, but it runs right in that space. But again, when you look at the cashback option, you're going to have a standalone CBO product. So it's not a rider on our products. It's actually, we have standalone cashback option products. So the last one I wanted to touch on here, and again, we could probably spend hours going through all this stuff, but you guys have a lot to go through, is if you're looking in that critical period coverage. So let's say you're looking at a client that is maybe in their 60s and says they have a couple more health conditions and maybe a term would allow, or maybe they're a couple years outside of the age band of what most term products fall into. For us, that's called our Eagle Premier Series. So if you're familiar with other companies, it runs right in line with them. So for us, again, for Eagle Premier, which is our, again, that final expense or critical period coverage, there is no E&O required. So if you're somebody that says, hey, I'm just starting out and I don't quite have a E&O yet, use our Eagle Premier Series. We think it's a great product. Again, there's no paperwork with this product. There's no amendments. You get that instant decision. A couple cool benefits with our Eagle Premier Series is, number one, accidental death benefit is built in at no additional cost. So if you're somebody that's writing a product in the final expense space or critical period coverage, sometimes you may bring up to the client, hey, would you like to add accidental death benefit that in the event you pass away of an accident, the company would double your death benefit? A lot of clients are like, yeah, that sounds good. And then you say, well, it's $1 more or $2 more or $3 more a month. Well, now you just already established one price. And now in the back of the client's mind, they're like, man, we just talked about this price. And now we're adding $2 here, $3 there. Well, what's the end price going to be? With our Eagle Premier Series, it's a one-stop shop. So the price you get includes accidental death benefit, which means it doubles the death benefit in the form of an event of an accident. What else that means is that accidental death benefit never drops off. So some of our competitors may have it drop off at age 80 or 85. So if you write a 75-year-old and they live to age 95 and they pass away of an accident, Americo's going to double the death benefit. So it never drops off. As a matter of fact, there's not even a box you check. It's just something that's built into the product itself. The last piece for Eagle that we think is kind of cool, that's worked pretty well overall and resonates with people, is we have what we call our quit smoking advantage. So what that does is, in the senior space, if you have a client that is a smoker, if we were all in a room and I asked you what's the average uptick in premium, or what's the average increase in premium for a smoker to non-smoker, most people would say 20%, 25, maybe 30%, depending on the age of the client. And one of the things that we found, and this is exclusive to Eagle Premier, so this is not on the term side, but with Eagle Premier, you can offer smokers non-smoker rates for 3 policy years. So what the only difference in our e-app is you check yes to smoking, and everything else is exactly the same. But what it does is it allows the opportunity for smokers to get non-smoker rates for 3 years. If you think about it, it's kind of Americo's way of a wellness type program. We'll give you an example. We had someone just last week that reached out, an agent that reached out to me and said, hey, this process is really cool, because they had a client that they were meeting with that had just quit smoking 2 weeks earlier. And if you think about all the core carriers, the smoking question usually says, in the last 12 months, have you ever blah, 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 blah. Well, they had met with another agent prior to meeting with the Symmetry agent I was speaking with last week. And that agent's like, unfortunately, we have to charge you smoker rates, even though you quit 2 weeks ago, because the question says in the last 12 months. Well, with Americo, what they were able to do is write them non-smoker rates, and that client can call in. We would give you a 3-year runway to quit smoking, but you only have to quit for 12 months. So if this client continues to quit 1 year from the issue date of the policy, they can call us, test out of it, and they're off and running. So we give them 3 years to quit, because we also understand in the senior space, some seniors didn't start smoking at age 60. They probably started maybe maybe a few years prior to that. So we want to give them a little runway. We get asked this from time to time is what happens if a client is, what happens if they started smoking when they were 18 years old and they're 65 now and they've been, they were old enough to smoke, cartons of Marlboro Reds, and there's no way in the world they're ever going to quit. Well, does this process work? The answer in theory is yes. It's not necessarily designed for that. It's kind of designed for people that are more either, hey, my wife's been at me, my husband's been at me, my doctor's been at me, I gotta quit. And this is just another way to motivate them. They may save, $15, $20 a month. So sometimes money is a good motivator when you're saving money to say, hey, if my wife or husband's hollering at me to quit, and oh, by the way, I'm saving money, maybe I should just quit. But we would allow for any smoker to provided they qualify health-wise. It doesn't, if they say, I'm never going to quit, can they use the program? Yes, they can. It's not what it's designed for, but they absolutely can. Again, this is just on our Eagle Premier Series. So very quickly, what happens in year 4 is, so in the 4th policy year, we would mail out a letter to the client. So from our end, what we'll do is we'll mail it out. We're not asking you to go out and see the client, because I'm looking at some of the names on here and, some of the heavy hitters in Symmetry. And if we ask you 4 years later, that's going to be like 1,000 clients ago. And you're like, I don't remember exactly who that is, and I don't remember exactly how that happened. So we'll mail out a letter to the client. If they've quit smoking, awesome. They would check a box. And right now we would just mail them a saliva kit to ask them to verify it. So they would do a quick saliva swab, they verify it, we're off and running. But if they haven't quit and they say, I really tried, I tried, I just couldn't, I quit for a week, or you hear some people say I quit for a day, and it's like, you didn't quit for a day, you ran out of money, you didn't go to the gas station. So like, we tried, but you just didn't quite work. So one of the things that we've done is you have 2 different options at that point. You can either keep the premium amount exactly the same and the face amount would go down, or you can keep the face amount the same and the premium would go up. A lot of clients, and we just rolled this out in June of 2018, so we're just coming up on that 3-year window. And so what we're thinking is that the default in the system is keep the premium the same, because that's what the client's used to, that's what they're consistent with. The cool thing about if they choose option B though, which is to keep the face amount the same, that premium amount adjustment is based on their issue age, not their current age. So let's say you write a 65-year-old, and then at age 69, they test out of it, or they say, I just couldn't quite quit. Their smoking premium is based on age 65, not 69. Because the question always comes up is, well, do I have a client for life, or do I have a client for 3 years? And the reality is we think you'll have a client for life, because if they say, you know what, I want to go a different direction, well, now they're 69. In that scenario, their health probably hasn't gotten better, and they're going to get smoker rates for age 69. Where with us, you're out of contestability period. It's, in 4th policy year, and you're going to get smoker rates as of age 65 in that example. So, so we have a myriad of different things, different products and process. I certainly want to respect you guys' time. I know you have a lot going on, but one of the things I wanted to throw out, I was working the other day with Chris. So I'm looking at my notes here. So what I want to do is, we are on May 7th, right? I guess thinking of Miles the other day, May 7th. So from May 7th on a Friday through, let's run it through June 4th. So May 7th to June 4th. So Friday to a Friday. And I'll work with you guys on all the details on this, but we want to say that whoever writes the most Americo business, we want to do something for the top 3. So whoever writes the most Americo business from May 7th, from today through June 4th, and when we say that, we mean issue paid business. The number 1 person will get a $150 Amazon gift card. The number 2 person will get a $100 Amazon gift card, and the number 3 person will get a $50 Amazon gift card. The only criteria with this is that it has to be a minimum 3 policies. So if you're somebody that you think about in the next month, and again, we certainly would love to earn everyone's business every time. We also know that you guys do a fantastic job of needs analysis, of looking at what the best product is, the best process, all of that stuff for your client. But I think what you'll find is when you use our process and you start getting policies issued quickly, which means money in your bank account, you'll start seeing clients like the fact that, hey, I met with a client at 9 a.m. and by 9:40 I knew they were approved. It resonates very well with clients, and it gives you that confidence as well. So again, we're running May 7th to June 4th. Number one's $150 Amazon gift card. Number two is $100. Number three is a $50. And we'll mail them out the week after June 4th, whatever that, June 7th or whatever that week is. We'll make sure that we mail those out. But it's just our way of saying, number one, thank you for the time today. I know you guys got a lot of things going on. You guys are going to go through leaderboards and all of that fun stuff. But I wanted to say we appreciate the time. We appreciate the support. We know that you guys have a lot of choices. And we think that when you, again, if our goal, going back to the beginning of the conversation, if our goal is to do steps 9 and 10 better than anyone else, we think if we give you a great process, we give you great products, and we issue policies quickly, we think 9 and 10 kind of fall into place for Americo. So with that, I'll turn it over and go from there.
Thank you, Andrew. And Andrew, do you have a couple minutes if anybody has any questions?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, anybody that has a question, want to pop on and throw that out, we'll take we won't take a long time, but a couple minutes here. If we take one or two questions, if anybody has them. If not, we'll let Andrew wrap up and go on with his day. So anybody, feel free to unmute yourself.
Andrew, can you talk a little bit about Eagle Premier and the cash accumulation value? Because I was speaking to one of your sales agents the other day, and they said it's, I guess the way they said it's just, there is really no accumulation and there's no way to illustrate it. Can you describe that a little bit more, please?
It's a great question, Andy. So we don't necessarily illustrate our Eagle Premier series. It is a whole life product, and it does technically accumulate cash value. The reality is a lot of times where Eagle Premier is used is more of a price point sale. And what I mean by that is that, if you think about it, if you're selling a 35-year-old whole life policy, you're probably building a whole portfolio around it of, hey, overfund it. Don't worry about the target, worry about the max, all of that stuff. When you get to the Eagle Premier, since it's a whole life product, you can accumulate cash value, but typically speaking, people don't overfund a quote unquote final expense policy or critical period. But we don't illustrate it for that reason, because I think if we looked at, just to put a perspective on this, in that one product alone in 2020, we did over $80 million in business in just one product. So with that said, out of that, if I were to ask all those clients how many people overfunded, we would probably have under 10. So most people just pay exactly what the premium is to keep the policy in force, which is why we don't typically illustrate it. But I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Good question. Good office, by the way, too.
Andrew, I would just say, I really like how you guys have the voice signature authorization on the Eagle Premier product. Do you guys have that also on the term products, the voice authorization?
Great question. So I'll answer it twofold. Number one, we don't have it yet. We're close. Typically speaking, what we hear, and you guys obviously blow this away because you pivot to Zoom last year, but what we would traditionally hear is a client's only going to be able to be on the phone so long before they lose any kind of interest. And the reality is on term products, there's a couple more health questions than there is on final expense products. And so we couldn't quite pare it down. We were thinking around that 25 to 27 minute mark was where clients, that's what a lot of statistics say, is where clients kind of lose interest a little bit. And so we're not quite there yet. But as a reminder on our Eagle product, if you're in an area that maybe doesn't have the best cell service, or you have a hot spot and you're like, man, it's just not quite working right. For Eagle Premier, you can use our call center. It's a 3-way call. So it'd be if I was in Kansas City and, Chris, I could call Chris and then we could 3-way in Americo. So you don't have to be next to the client. You can 3-way call. And the cool thing is that call center is in Kansas City. It's actually in our new business area. So it's not optical, or I forget the name of the company, but and then they do a good job, but it's our company in Kansas City. It's 9 to 5 Central Time, Monday to Friday. And so it's not open on the weekends. But it is something, if you're in a pinch and you say, hey, for whatever reason, the hotspot's not working or something like that, you absolutely can do it. But we're working on it for term right now, but it's not quite there yet. But great question.
That just a quick testimony, because I've actually used the voice application Sweet lady in Kansas City, didn't have internet, didn't have email even, and called her. She was ready to buy. I mean, it's probably one of the easiest sales I've ever had. And like Andrew said, just a quick call to Americo. They were very professional and made it a very comfortable process and walked her right through it. She was happy with it, and it was. I sat back and just let the whole process unfold. So for me, it was
That's awesome.
the easiest app.
One quick story for you for 1 minute, and then I'll let you guys go on that specific using our telesales. So we get asked all the time, can an agent help coach a client, or can they, help them along the way? We want the agent on the phone. We want the client on the phone. So this true story. We have the recording of this still. We had a client that called in and with the agent, and the client said, "Hey, we would like to have the coverage." And the first question we asked is what the agent's ID is. So they put in, ABC 1, 2, 3, or whatever the ID is. Then the next question is, what's the client's name? And the client said no. And we said, okay, is it like KNO, KNOW? There may be a language barrier there. We're trying to figure out how to spell this. So we asked again, how do you spell the name? And they said no. And we said, okay, we have to, that's the first thing in the application. Is it KNO? How do you spell this? After the third time of asking, we said, man, we can't move forward until you tell us how to spell this. And she said, well, my agent told me to answer no to every question. So with that said, that's actually a true story. We have that on the recorded line. So we want you to coach the client, but possibly not tell them the answer no to everything. So, but with that said, good questions, guys. And I know you guys got a few other things to run through here, so I'll get out of your way. But again, we'll track this contest here. Would love to pay out some gift cards to you all to say thank you. And again, thanks for all you do. And if I can help you, don't hesitate to reach out. But have a great rest of your day, great weekend. Have a great Mother's Day. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for hopping on and sharing with us. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that Andrew shared with us and positioning and utilizing their services as part of our sales process. So let's, guys, we're going to return to normal programming here. We're going to run through leaderboards real quick. So let's hit some numbers, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what some of the reason that we had Andrew on and how to utilize that in your business. So for the week, let me make sure I get the right sheet here. We had a new writer, so shout out to Scott Henderson with 2 applications, brand new writer. Congratulations, Scott. Welcome to the writing force. That's awesome to see that come through. Top 10, Miss Jenny Gray, with 4 applications, $1,626 direct to John Paul Vetter. Our new writer, Mr. Scott Henderson, again with 2 applications, $1,756 direct to John Paul. Terry Myers, 5 applications, $1,878 direct to Stella Dinwiddie. We had Ellis Hubbard, 1 application, $2,921 direct to John Paul. We have Jerry Points, 1 application, $2,950 direct to John Paul. Sydney Lee, 3 applications, $2,958 direct to Stella Dinwiddie. Mr. John Paul Vetter himself, 3 applications, $4,365 direct to myself. Stella Dinwiddie, 3 applications, $4,425 direct to myself. Miss Eva Bowman, 1 application, $4,527 direct to Stella Dinwiddie. If you're going to write 1 application, make it a $4,500 app. Great job, Stella, or Eva, excuse me. Number 1 for the week, actually number 1 in, no, actually we have a tie for app count. So let me go ahead and give a quick shout out to Stacy Love, who also had 6 applications, just outside the top 10. But hey, if you write some accidentals, write some kid policies, man, those add up very quickly. So great job, Stacy, getting 6 applications in. But number 1 for the week, Mr. Eric Sullivan, 6 applications, $6,091 direct to Mr. John Paul Vetter. Great week, Eric, and awesome to see that leading from the front because he's got a fast-growing team. Let's hit last month, April. Had a phenomenal month, guys. We had 35 writers As a team, $274,000 in the hierarchy. So a great month. Hats off to all of you. Also, we had, and I think, let me double check this here. 10 new riders, guys. That is phenomenal. 10 new riders on the team. That is awesome. Love that. Quick shout out to the new riders: Stacy Love, Jacob Marriott, Derek McPherson, Shayna Guthrie, Stasia Bennett, Gregory Aist, Brad Higgins, Kenny Rivera Nunez, Mary Brown, and Ashley Prom. Great job, new riders. Welcome to the team. So glad that you joined us and are getting into the fray. Top new rider, actually, let's go ahead and give a quick shout out. Top new rider in April was Stacy Love with 10 applications. Guys, that's phenomenal. First month out, 10 applications, $8,544 directed Donna Bates. Great job, Team Bates and Stacy Love. So top new rider for the month. Top 10. Mr. Eric Sullivan has 7 applications, $9,084, directed John Paul Vetter. Terry Myers, 19 applications, $11,813, directed Stella. Lionel Anderson, 12 applications, $13,000, directed John Paul. Eva Bowman, 19 applications, $15,000, directed Stella. Natalie Hermit, 8 applications, $17,543, directed Eric Sullivan. Jenny Gray, 28 applications. Jenny, app count leader in the month of April. Great job. 28 applications, $21,719, directed John Paul. Donna Bates, 16 applications, $22,387, directed Spencer Cushion. And Donna, that I'm going to look at the numbers. I think that's a high water mark for Miss Donna. Coming out of the gate strong and pushing hard to grow herself and her team. So shout out to Donna. Andy McKinley, number 3 with 19 apps, $23,440. Stella Dinwiddie, 22 apps, leading from the front, $25,952, and just $48 shy of $26,000. And Mr. John Paul Vetter, as always, leading from the front with 21 applications, $40,000 on the month. Guys, that is phenomenal. Great month. And then I'm going to do a quick leaderboard here because this is going to be applicable to what we've talked about with Andrew, and we're going to get into here in a second. Issue paid leaderboard, guys. Submit is for show. Issue paid is for dough. I'm going to do top 5 because we're not going to take a lot of time here, but and we're going to dig into this here in a minute. But top 5 issue paid for the month of April. Ellis Hubbard had 105.9% issue pay rate. You say, how does the guy get paid more than what he wrote? He was writing magic business that pays more than what you. No, I'm just joking. That's called rollover, guys. So whenever you write business at the end, let's say, for example, you write a case on the 30th of the month, it's going to show up sometimes as submit in the previous month, but it issue pays in the following month. That's where you can get an imbalance where you actually have more issue paid than what you actually wrote. But hey, that's great because it means you're getting your business put through. That's going to happen. That we don't get too concerned about that. If it happens a lot, then that may mean we have to work a little bit on spacing your business out through the month and make sure you're balanced. But no, that's great. Ellis Hubbard had 105.9%. Eric Sullivan came in at number 2 with 82% issue paid. Donna Bates had 79.2%. Stella Dinwiddie had 78.5%. And at number 5, Miss Terry Myers, 78.3%. Guys, again, writing a ton of business is great, but if it doesn't get issue paid, that's a problem. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Before I do, I want to open the floor here real quick to John Paul and Stella. If you guys have any announcements for your teams that you need to cover real quick.
Sure. Stella, you want to go first?
Oh, you're such a gentleman. I just love you, John Paul. Okay, because mine will be really quick. I just really wanted to congratulate, we always, congratulate all of our teams. And, I'm just so honestly, this morning Lori had mentioned something, and I just can't say how grateful and blessed and excited and thankful that I am to be here with all you guys. But I also wanted to tell you guys that Greg aced on our team. You know, I've talked about it with our personal team, aside from here, but he used to be a financial advisor, and he's on the Quility team. And we've been reaching out to him, you know, for help with our families who have annuities. And yesterday he helped Terry and her family write $160,000 annuity. And that's like a $7,200 APV. And Greg, just so you know, so if you want to keep it, you know, in the family, or just, you know, contact him directly. I know he doesn't mind me telling you this. He is licensed in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah. And I just want to tell you guys, right now we're in the process of working with one of my clients who I couldn't help them because, you know, they had everything in place, but they had 750,000 in, you know, annuities, 401ks and IRAs. And we've been working with him, and that guy had the biggest compliment about Greg. And everybody I sit with that Greg helps me, he is amazing. Like, I can't say enough great things about him. There's so many great things to come. But, you know, so feel free to reach out to him is my point here. You can reach out to him directly instead of having to go through Quility, but you can also go through Quility. But if you want to have somebody that's going to walk along beside you and really care about your families, because all of us here care about our families first, that's Greg. So, and I'm just so excited also, you know, Ashley Prom, who just wrote her business, you know, I know John Paul, you know, I love it when you talk about all of, you know, the other teams that are growing and their people are writing. Same thing, you know, with Dinwiddie team, we've got, you know, Ashley is from Eva's team, and Jordan's from Terry's team. And there's just so many of you. So I'm so proud of you. Got so many people growing their agencies. And I know that we'll see at least 2 agency owners this year with Terry and Eva. And I'm just so excited. So thank you for letting me share that with you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Stella. And so I've got a laundry list of just things to recognize here. We'll try to make best use of the time because we're running a little bit behind this on the call today, but I just wanted to make sure that we cover these things and talk about them because, you know, and get recognition to those individuals where it's warranted, right? So, you know, first and foremost, for my team, we had a monster month. I mean, we set a record month last month in production as a team collectively for 139,544.17 on 107 families protected for last month. That's for my team collectively. That's all of us, right? In the last week of April, we set a weekly record for the last week of the month at 44,321.68 for the week, which was also a record for us. Previous record was about 41 and some change on the week, and then the monthly was about 122 and change. So, you know, really blew that away. And we tied the record for number of individual writers at 18. So 18 writers on the month, you know, for my team. But more significant is that we had 5 new writers for the month. And we actually had another 6th just last week as well. You know, so definitely want to recognize these individuals. So, but more importantly, of those 6, only 2 of them are direct to me. The rest are all direct to people in the organization. And this is huge. So last month, I know we recognized it. Chris mentioned names a little while ago, but Ms. Stasius Bennett, direct to Mr. Mark Roberts. Kenny Rivera, direct to Mr. Lionel Anderson. Then Derek McPherson, direct to myself. And then both Mary Brown and Brad Higgins, direct to Mr. Eric Sullivan on his team. So 2 for his folk, 2 folks for him for this last month. And then Scott Henderson, who just wrote last week, which will be for May, is direct to myself as well. But just so much momentum there. And the other thing is Natalie, where you at? You see on there, Miss Natalie Hermit. She's direct to Eric Sullivan, and she has a huge team. She has 6 or 7, 8 folks in her organization under Eric also. So don't get it twisted. Natalie had a record production month for herself, and she wrote 17,543.24 for the month on her own pen. So outstanding job there, Tally. You know, but there's just so much momentum going on right now. We added a new gentleman to my future agency owners group, which is Derek McPherson. He's jumped in, has ads out on ZipRecruiter. I've had a couple of individuals, both Jenny and Ellis, who increased their ads this month on their recruiting efforts. But we've added so many new people to the our organization over the course of the last couple of months, but specifically last month, we're really starting to gain that momentum and see the fruit bared from the seeds planted going back earlier to the beginning of the year. But you got folks like Lionel Anderson and Ellis and Mark Roberts, you know, who've added several people to their team over the course of the last month. Jenny Gray has added 3 new licensed agents last week. Okay, so there's so many things that are moving with this team right now. And I just wanted to take a moment to recognize those individuals. Obviously, I'm looking at the clock, so we finished the rest of our call, but just wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to be recognized for the total team effort, because this is a team effort. You know, none of us can get ultimately where we want to go in this journey alone. You know, and we have such a family vibe here and support and love one another in what we do. And just so proud. I'm more excited right now for the people on my team seeing what they're doing than anything since I've been here. And so I'm so proud of all of you. There's so much more to come. There are at least 4, if not 5 individuals on my future AO group right now that are tracking to break out as AOs this year, this calendar year. Several other ones will make to key leader and probably break out shortly after that at the beginning of next year. But the gas is wide open throttle, and see no chance of slowing down. We're all gas, no brakes. So appreciate each and every one of you guys, and let's keep it on, and let's turn back around and make May a repeat month, if not better than in April. So appreciate you all. Blessed to be on this journey with you.
Awesome. Yeah, it's exciting to watch this. Got just a ton of growth, and again, as a hierarchy, 10 new writers. That is the lifeblood of a business. You know, in business, doesn't matter what business it is, you're either growing or you're dying. And so we want to be on the growing side. So congratulations to all of you, you know, recruiters that went out and built and added on to your teams, then all the new writers that went out and added business. So guys, I'm going to, I know we're short on time here, but it's very important. I want to wrap up with a little bit of conversation about why was Andrew from Americo on and sharing a little bit about their company, because I specifically reached out to him, and it's because I've been watching the numbers. As a hierarchy, our issue paid is not where it needs to be. In fact, in April, we just got our April numbers back. Overall, we're at 54%. We've been trending around that 55 to 65%. My concern with that is, and obviously, you know, from a hierarchy standpoint, I mean, you know, every percentage makes a huge difference. You know, when we write 275,000 as an agency, you know, you want to get as much of that business. You know, so from a selfish standpoint, we want to get as much of that business as you paid, because that's the profitability of our agency. But more importantly, and this is where my concern is, that's your profitability. And from an agency building standpoint, from a profitability standpoint, for a company to grow, for Symmetry to grow, for the Menefee agency, for the Vetter, for the Dinwiddie agency to grow, each one of you has to be getting your business issue paid. Because if you're not, what we see happen, and it becomes a demoralizing effect, is you're writing a ton of business, but you're not seeing it show up in your bank account, and you really start getting frustrated because you got money going out, but not money coming in. Guys, so that's why and hear me very carefully. I am not advocating that you write only Americo, that we're going to become an Americo team. That's not the point. The point is, I want to put a resource in front of you of a company that issue pays business same day. And I'm going to encourage you to start writing your business with those companies. If it's not Americo, it can be John Hancock. There's some other products with other companies that aura is instant decision. But nobody does what Americo does in the form of they are going to, while you're sitting with the client, give you a thumbs up, thumbs down very early in the process. So let me talk about why that's important, guys. Because if you think about the scenario, and you actually laid it out for us, this has happened where people write business. And even, there's some companies out there that are really struggling right now in their underwriting. Things are backed up. One big company that starts with an M, and you know who they are, that supposedly has instant decision business that still winds up getting hung up in underwriting for 6 or 7 or more days. That's a problem, because if you get a turn down 10 days later, right, Eric? You get a turn down and you've got to come back to the client, deliver bad news, and then try to turn that ship around and get them on another product. Guys, that's a low percentage play. And so why I want to encourage you to look at companies like Americo, and again, I'm not telling you have to write with them. This is not a directive and this is your business, but I'm going to encourage you strongly to really start your business there. And here's why. Here's how this benefits you. Even if you ultimately write business with other companies, if you start with a company like Americo, like he said, and I've actually ran Americo, I've written Americo apps, a lot of them, and it is very nice to start filling out that application, fill in their name, social security number, basic information, and then you start seeing up in the corner, there's a little notification that underwriting has started. Once you get, there's a little two-step verification process. That first, they have to do a little electronic signature authorizing script check, which is their prescription check. But that basically starts the underwriting process. You can start on the application process, but you watch up in the corner and you get a little notification pops up, a new message. You click that new message that tells you either thumbs up, hey, it looks like this client's going to qualify. That's a relief factor, because you're talking with the client and okay, let's go through the questions. There's really a very high probability that this is ultimately going to issue. However, if you get a turn down, right, basically it says, sorry, doesn't look like this client's going to, or basically it doesn't say it doesn't look like, it tells you this client will not qualify based on their script check. Well, then it does two things. Number one, that gives you, it saves you a ton of time, saves you having to come back to that client and reignite the conversation. But it also lets you know that you have some issues that you're going to have to dig in with that client. Remember, John Paul talks about this all the time. That client that has that hidden basket, that second basket of medications that they somehow forgot to tell you about. But what it allows you to do is to make that pivot into another product, but do so in a more smooth transaction, because the client doesn't see what's going on. They don't realize that you've got that message that popped up. Now, there's an issue here, but you can address it with the client and pivot to another product and do that in a seamless manner. And there's a number of different ways to do it. One, maybe just say, hey, Mr. Client, and just be upfront with them. I'm getting a message from the underwriter. We need to stop and I need to dig into a few more questions with you. So that may mean you go ahead and pull up the application questions and start going through and really digging in with those folks. Okay, tell me, have you ever had this? Have you ever had, I don't care if it was 20 years ago, have you ever had this procedure? Another way is to kind of having in the back of your mind your backup products, if you will, where you just tell the client, look, we're starting to fill out this application, but I just got a notification this one's not going to work for my underwriting. Not a problem. We're just going to pivot to another application. And again, it keeps it very, very natural, very I think one of the problems is a lot of times when you call a client up a week later and tell them, hey, you've been rejected, that's kind of a demoralizing thing. That's why a lot of clients don't want to go back through that process with another application. Well, if you're in the middle of that application, you find that you have a turn down, how easy is it just to say, or maybe not even really make a big deal out of it. Hey, we're going to pivot to another product. I've got a better idea for you. Or again, in other words, you have control over the messaging and how you make that transition to another product. Okay. That's important because, again, one of our problems I'm seeing with Issue Paid is we write this business, it goes into the underwriting black hole for a week, and then it gets kicked out, and we've got to turn around and start the process all over. Wasted time. Time is money. Wasted time on your part. Delivering bad news to a client. I don't care if it's their fault, it's still bad news, and it's never a good scenario that you're trying to deliver bad news to them and then want to talk them into doing something else with you, even if it's good for them, even though we agree that they need the products. If you're the one, if you just told them they've been turned down, that's a negative. That's a problem. And so by having a company like Americo, or it could be John Hancock, it could be, again, this is not a pitch specifically for Americo. I'm going to strongly encourage you to use Americo more because they have the term, they have the cashback option, and they have the final expense, the big three that we use in our business. Now, a quick note here about, and Andrew, again, the elephant in the room is price. Because a lot of times we lean too heavy on the fact that, hey, I'm a broker, I'm going to get you the cheapest price. Guys, if you sell on price, you're going to lose on price. Because I don't care if you search all of our carriers and find them absolute cheapest price, somebody down the road will come in and undercut you. They will find a way. Now, they're not going to be honest with the client on how they're saving the money. There's going to be a lesser product with lesser benefits, but they will, if you sell on price, you lose on price. And guys, in fact, in my sales career, I made it a point of telling people up front, I will not sell you the cheapest price unless it's the best product. I told them up front, I'm not going to sell you the cheapest price. A few people that take them a little bit aback. They're like, well, why wouldn't you? It's like, well, let me ask you this. Do you always buy the cheapest thing? Doesn't matter. Do you buy the cheapest car? This is an easy one. Mr. and Mrs. Client, do you always buy the cheapest car? Well, they'll say, well, I got a great deal. Yeah, I do. No. Do you buy the cheapest car? Does it have crank windows, rubber floors, and no AC? Well, no, it doesn't. Well, then you didn't buy the cheapest car. You got the best value. You may have bought the car with the leather seats, the heated steering wheel, the butt massager and all this, and you may have paid a good price for that, but you didn't buy the cheapest car. So it's all about value. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. And you've heard that statement before. It's a common sales statement, but it's true. So if you tell a client up front, I am not going to sell you the cheapest product, because here's another factor. And you think about in insurance, guys, we're a financial industry. And part of what we're selling to the client is financial peace and peace of mind. If they die 10, 20 years down the road, we have to set them up with a company that not only is good financially today, but will be good 10, 20 years down the road. Okay, so there are companies in our space that may play a little fast and loose with their financials. Will they be able to pay the claim down the road? Now, one of the nice things that I like about Symmetry and what we come to the table with as a broker, Symmetry is very keen on making sure that we only do business with A-rated companies. So if you look at our portfolio, the Americos, the American Amicables, Foresters, all these companies are high-rated companies. So that's where we hang our hat on that value, that when we sell you a product, at some point down the road, when you need that to pay your family so they can go and continue on with their lifestyle, to pay off debt, all those things, guys, that's where your value is. Okay, that's where your sale is. So being able to tell a client, I can give you an answer today. I can get you an answer if you're approved. I can get you covered today. I can actually have you a policy number here in about 5 minutes. I forgot that they did that. I'm glad that Andrew brought that up. After they clear that first level of underwriting, they already have a policy number. Guys, that's huge. I can get you covered today with a great A-rated company that's based here in the U.S., right in Middle America. It's a privately owned company. A lot of people didn't mention that, but it's actually a privately owned insurance company, the biggest of its kind in the U.S. Privately owned company that's been around for a century, that will provide you excellent product at an excellent price, and will get you covered today. So guys, that's my pitch to you. But the bottom line is, again, if you can do business with a company that will get you your client covered today and get you paid tomorrow, And at the end of the month, we're looking at your issue paid numbers. Again, we had the bulk of our issue paid was right around that 80%, which is a good number. It's not a bad number, but that's where everybody should be. Everybody should be at that 80 to 90% issue paid rate. Unfortunately, when I have an agency that has a 54% average, that means there's a whole lot of people down at the bottom, as many as there are at the top. And that's problematic for you guys who are not getting paid. That's my concern. And that's where, you know, from an agency building standpoint, I think, you know, obviously there are people that come in that struggle and just, you know, mentally can't get the business and just, you know, at some point tap out. But I think one of the biggest problems is we have too many people that are focused on the idea of being a broker, and they're going to shop the market and go out and find the cheapest product instead of finding the best product for the client and for the agent. Okay, so there's two sides to this. It has to be a win-win. It has to be a win for the client. It has to be a win for the agent. Okay, so you guys have to take care of yourself as just as much as you take care of the client. So how do we do that? We write good products with good companies that treat the client well, but also treat the agent well. Okay. Guys, I know we went a little bit over, but I wanted to share a little bit the reasoning why we had Andrew on. Make sure you understand that. And really, guys, take this to heart. Think about this from a business standpoint. Make a smart business decision. And let's start focusing, whether it's Americo, whether it's John Hancock, whether it be one of our other carriers that offers a true, and I mean true, instant decision. I'm not talking about instant decision if they're absolutely squeaky clean perfect. Well, that doesn't happen very often. Okay. So I would start, my advice to you is I would start my business here with an instant decision, because that's going to give you early indicators of any problems and allow you to address them more quickly. So you get paid quicker, but you also address those problems quicker and make sure that your client gets covered. That's at the end of the day what we're trying to accomplish here. Guys, let's, I know we're a little bit over, but again, I think this is valuable content for you to have success. John Paul, Stella, anything you guys need to add before we wrap it up, or are we ready to hit the ground running?
No, the other thing, the caveat that I'd add to that, I think a large portion of the latency, we'll call it, with place business has to do, in my opinion, right, with the fact that we write quite a bit of business with Mutual of Omaha. And I don't mean just the Term Life Express, but there's oftentimes we find ourselves in a situation we have to go fully underwritten. We're going Term Life Answers, which is an inherent delay. And even on the Living Promise and those other products, we write accidental death, critical illness, heart attack, cancer, stroke, children's policies. There's a lot we write there. And I will say that from what I've observed over the last week-ish is that on the health side, air quote, critical illness, children accidental death, it does fall on that side of the fence. Those things are getting placed like that next day. They're banging those things out. So they're air quote caught up on that side from what I've seen. But the other policies, even on Living Promise, if it gives you an instant underwriting decision on the screen, it's still not being assigned to an underwriter for, it was 8 to 10 days, a few weeks ago, before someone's even looking at it, to then take a day or two to check a box and put it in the system to place it. So now you're approaching 2 weeks out before you get paid on it, or it's, a week, 10 days ish before it's even placed. So they're trying to get caught up. Most of you should be copied on the email that's being sent out by their executive that's in charge of underwriting. And they're working feverishly to mitigate that latency. But I think over the course of the last month or two, just because of the unprecedented volumes of apps that are being written, they kind of got caught with their pants down, and that's impacted a lot of our business. Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to get placed, or you're not going to get paid, or if it's whatever. It's just not happening in the time frame that we usually do. And the flip side of that is so many people don't get an early start in their month. They wait till towards the end of the month to turn the gas back on because they took the first half of the month off. And so if you're writing those kinds of policies in the course of your business and they happen to be with Mutual of Omaha, they ain't going to get placed till next month anyway. So it's going to show up on next month's snapshot. So there's kind of a catch-22 there, right? So anyway, I said all that to say this, just try to diversify your business so that you're placing those in the right locations. Use more of the instant underwriting decision options we do have that are placed, like John Hancock, AIG, if it has to be guaranteed issue, and of course, Americo and others. But anyway, I just want to make sure folks understand the big picture and how you have to get your gears connected on the overall, connectivity of everything related to your business. It's not just calling and setting appointments and, writing some policies. You got to manage your business. And that means your pending business, you should have on your calendar at least 3 days a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I have on my calendar, check pending business. And I do it ad hoc all the time anyway, but it's on my calendar. So if I get busy and things going, I have that time allotted for me to chase down, amendments or just check on policies. You should be calling these carriers and talking to the underwriting teams and checking on your policies. Why hasn't it been placed? I mean, what's needed? What's missing? That's your responsibility. Nobody else's. It's your business, right? So anyway, just want to add that color commentary, Chris.
But to your point, John Paul, I'm glad you brought that up. But think about how much less you're going to have to do from a call standpoint, following up on business if you have instant decision.
That's right.
That again, you got to think about time is money, and that's time with the client, but also time on the back end. So keep that in mind.
Hey, Chris, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Can y'all post once again for all of us, maybe in the chat, the carriers that we know do instant decisions? Again, I know 3 of them, but I don't know if I'm missing some. So just good if we can.
Yeah, well, I'll put together. We'll get an email put together and send that out to everybody, and kind of a ranking. Again, kind of keep in mind too, though, there are companies that have what they call instant decision product, but they're not really true to instant decision. When we say instant decision, we're talking about a yes or no. By the time you hit submit on that application, you're getting your thumbs up, thumbs down. And that's actually a pretty small number of companies in reality. And again, Americo, John Hancock are the only ones that I know that are actually true, straight up instant decision. Now we know we've got some other companies. American Amicable does have some products that are an instant decision, but keep in mind those can still kick back to underwriting. Same thing with Mutual of Omaha, but as we talked about, can be kicked back to underwriting. I believe Forrester's kind of the same thing. So again, not to say you can't do business with those companies, and that's not all what we want to have this message be from this call. But we do want the message to be is you got to be smart about your business. And one of the things that you can't control when we're talking about issue paid is making a conscious decision that you're going to run your business, number one, through 1 or 2 companies. I would be running all my business, if I could, through 1 or 2 companies to cut down on the amount of, products and companies that I have to keep track of. But then number 2, again, for that other factor, if I'm using an instant decision company, that's going to streamline my business, increase my profitability, and help me deal with my clients with problems much quicker than trying to chase through underwriting constantly. So, guys, I know we went way over. I appreciate everybody staying on long for us and kind of digging into this content, but it's very vitally important. Again, I want to see these numbers get up for you, because I mean it is critical that you guys, when you're writing your business, you're getting paid on that business. And I hate seeing, somebody that's got, some solid numbers, but maybe, I can see it on the issue paid side, they're not getting paid as much as they should be, and so there are things that we can do to control that. So get with your mentor if you want to have some, specific sales conversations on some of those ways to position those products, some ways to sell that value. Again, I think that's the other thing. One of the traps of selling by price is you miss a lot of the value. And that's why I wanted Andrew to talk a little bit about, some of their built-in riders you know, they have a lot of built-in value in their, and if you're pricing it out and you're not adding those on to competitive products, you're actually not, you're not doing an apples to apples comparison. It's not a straight across. And that's happened too many times where I say, well, I looked at Americo, but they're too high. No, you didn't look at them. You just looked at the price. You didn't look at the value proposition of what those products have built in. And when you start breaking it down, they're actually very competitive. Again, you sell on price, you lose on price, guys. So, all right, guys, I won't take any longer. I appreciate each and every one of you jumping on. Let's go out and let's have a monster month. Let's go out and keep up this momentum. Great job, everybody.